Compañeros, welcome to another edition of the SQL Data Partners Podcast. But we are live here in Richmond, Virginia. Let's hear it, crowd. So I can't say our first live. We've done one a little several years ago. So I'm reminiscing. So I'm standing in front of the crowd here, and I am actually wearing the original Compañero Conference T-shirt. Right? There's only like 15 of these made, right? So
it's a little faded.
So it's very rare, right? And we were down in Virginia Beach, and so I'm thinking. So this morning, as we were getting ready to put this together, I was thinking of Randolph West, Tracy Bojano, Doug Purnell, Jonathan Stewart, Kevin Fiesel, right? That came out that first time, and we're like, hey. Let's try to do this, and of course all the attendees that came. So anyway, I was reminiscing a little bit. So we're here, and we have some folks. We were like, we've been not together for so long, and we thought we were bringing in the consultants this week, and we thought, hey, let's see if we can get some people together and chat a little bit. So I'm not quite sure where the conversation is going to go. So I'm walking around with a mic here, and but Aaron's gonna help us kick it off here, right? So Aaron,
quiz.
So you really quick introduce yourself, right? And then we might just be forewarned, compañeros. Hold on. But if SharePoint comes up, don't turn the volume down. Just yet, right? Hang on.
Right, because SharePoint is awesome. So I'm Erin Glenn. I actually co-lead the Richmond SharePoint user group for the past 11, 12, I don't know how many years now. But I've been in SharePoint for 16, 17 years. And because of that, I also know data. I work with, obviously SQL on the back end, but SSRS. And I'm working with Power BI now. And so I love my DBAs. They're the best because they make the magic happen in the back, and I make the magic look pretty in the front.
So shout out to Julie.
Yes.
Who totally miffed us today, man.
Well, because she's a director now, and she has meetings that I don't want to go to that she has to go to.
Oh, gotcha. There you go. Well, anyway. So a familiar face, or a familiar voice, rather, since we're not doing video today. But Eugene Meininger is here.
Yeah. I guess, if you listen to the podcast, you already know who I am, but my name is Eugene Meininger. I'm part of the help of SQL Data Partners, and I focus very heavily in Power BI. So anytime like Aaron or someone says Power BI, my ears perk up.
Yeah. And so our first question, right? So we have to specify, right? So Eugene, newly minted MVP, right? His access called us insider. Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. That's right. Insider information, right? Aaron wants to know, when are we getting Power BI versioning, Eugene?
Heck if I know, right? I saw a meme recently where it's like this knight in shining armor, and it's like all this beautiful features of Power BI, and then version control is this arrow that just goes to that little slit in the helmet, right?
Right.
I'll get a link to you. I think I saw like someone had posted about some GitHub project where it like exports all the contents and everything, but I don't know. I think they're working on stuff, but
I export it to a SharePoint document library where versioning is enabled.
Yep. You found the solution that Microsoft suggests: OneDrive or SharePoint.
Oh my gosh.
There we go. So I guess we want to kind of open it up, right? So we've had conversations prior to. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? Put you all on the spot.
Question and answer?
Q&A. Yeah, we can do a Q&A.
Sure.
Yeah. You got a question?
Vent.
You got a question, John?
Well,
No political screeds, please.
Oh yeah. We do need to keep it data platform focused, right?
well,
Here we go.
First of all, I'm John Johnson. I work here nearby, and I do production support, database administration, SSIS, that kind of stuff. I've had a problem. So I don't know if this qualifies, but this is what I'm going with.
Here we go.
I've seen a SQL Server memory allocation problem 5 times in the last 2 months, where the memory gets stolen from the regular pool, and there's too much in the lock memory,
Right.
and I see queries that are in the resource semaphore wait state, and it's frozen basically.
Right.
The only solution that seems to work is a reboot of the server.
Oh.
I've wondered if somebody else has experienced that, and it's happened on 2016 and on 2019. I haven't caught the culprit of whoever is causing these,
Here we go.
excessive locks.
So I'm going to restate the question, John, right, just to make sure we're on the same page. So what I'm hearing is you've got some queries, that are running. All of a sudden, one query gets an excessive grant, right? The SQL server's like, I don't know how much memory you got on the server. We're just going to make up some numbers here. So let's say you got 64 gigs of memory on the server, right? And then all of a sudden, the query comes in and says, I would like 64 gigs of memory. And the SQL server's like, you got it, bud.
Yeah.
Right? Let me give it to you. And then everything else is kind of like, well, what about us?
Yeah,
Right? It feels a little left out. Does that kind of feel like what's your problem?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I come on it after the fact always, so I never get to see how it arrived at the point it's in,
So do you use a monitoring tool?
We have Foglight. I'm not, I don't get into Foglight very often, I suppose.
There we go.
Yeah.
I was going to say, so as a SolarWinds partner, right? I'm sure that's your problem, right? But I'm actually going to come over and pick on Rick here. I want to come over here. So Rick Lowe is here with us, and we've been dealing a little bit with that. So I'm going to give him first crack at this, and then of course I'll chime in and cover any gaps. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so my name's Rick Lowe. I'm a SQL Server MCM and just kind of performance tuning person. So I guess the first thing I'd say is, if you don't have a performance monitoring thing in place, one thing you can do is run. Do you have SP Who is Active installed?
Oh yeah.
I know I shouldn't
all
be.
the time.
I know I shouldn't be saying
Yeah.
there's a free escape. But yeah, so if you have SP Who is Active installed anyway, usually the first thing you do in that situation is just to get eyes on it, is to try to set it up to run like in a loop, periodic in the background, and save the table. That said, in terms of ways to actually fix it,
And capture the output.
yeah. So just so you can kind of go through the output later and see, oh wow, 5 minutes before I went down, I have like 60 things being blocked by this one query. That's probably my culprit. But yeah, just a few other things I look at. So if you suspect it is a memory grant problem like Carlos is talking about, is it a recent SQL Server? Relatively recent version of SQL Server?
He's at 2016 and 2017.
2019.
Or 2019.
Oh, nice.
On both.
So one thing you can do is if you get out, get on the internet and search for literally anybody for SQL Server slow queries, you'll get some kind of query that's looking at one of the DMVs called sys.dmxx query stats. One of the things in there is how much memory grant a query got, and it's ugly, horrible, awful queries. But if you slog through it, you can actually find out. Maybe not after the fact, because if you rebooted, you lost the data. But right before the fact, you might be able to see who's hogging memory in your system. Unfortunately, sometimes you do see that one kind of quick fix, if you can, is just to add memory. And I know it's kind of brute force, but
Yeah, I was able to recover it one time by increasing max server memory, and gave it a little time, and it worked itself back. It didn't always work doing that.
the other thing you could look at would be if it's an option in RCSI. RCSI might help with locking as part of the issue. Recommitted snapshot isolation.
I'm not familiar with.
It's kind of cool. So, by any chance, have you ever worked? I shouldn't ask if you work with the other database. So basically, by default, SQL Server enforces consistency by locking everything down, saying, this is mine, no one else can look at it. If you turn on the RCSI setting, instead it uses something called row versioning, which is more like it's the lower locking alternative to doing it. You don't want to just turn it on blindly in production, like not that setting specifically, just in general. Don't just blindly make changes in prod.
Fortunately, this has never happened in production.
Oh, nice.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, if locking is a problem, turning on RCSI basically makes it so that readers don't block writers and writers don't block readers, which can help a lot. But
It sounds like just row level locking. Is that what you're talking about?
yeah.
That's
Okay.
right.
So although you can have lock escalations, if you have a runaway query that's currently taking row locks, if it gets up and beyond like about 8,000 rows, that is roughly the magic number, it'll actually lock the entire table, which is kind of where turning on RCSI really shines. Because if you get those table locks, it kind of shuts down everything.
Yeah, so the other thought there is that if you can't get in, right, always remember your remote administrator connector, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the back door, right, to get in. You reserve that little bit of space.
It's not on by default, so if the remote admin connection is not on, turn it on.
Yeah. The next time you have to reboot, turn it on first, right? Then reboot, and then you'll catch it the next time, right? So that will give you that ability to get in, right, and do that. So here we go. We're gonna go to this side of the table.
Hi, so my name is Paul Oster. I've been working with SQL Server for 20 years, a little bit, 21 now, since SQL Server 2000. There's basically, generally when you have a difference between production and dev, you want to look at the quantity of RAM. And sometimes we set certain settings in the server security to allow for things like lock pages and RAM. So if that's set on, that's going to cause you problems. If you run out of RAM, it's going to be serious problems. If that's off, then it's not a problem. Now the next thing is SQL Server will only run 2 very large queries at the same time. And so it will allow 1/3 of your RAM to remain outside of those very large queries. So those 2 will only run. Now, there's a DMV that you go into that gives you your memory grant information. And it'll say for each query, for each session ID that you have there, whether memory has been granted for that query. And generally, when you see a lot of resource semaphore waits, memory has not been granted yet. And so the query actually will not execute at all, and it'll just stay there. And if you go SP2 is active all day long, nothing will happen until those larger queries release the RAM. So once they're done executing, if yours has a minimum amount of RAM that's required to execute that query and it's not in there and those 2 larger ones are being run, you're going to have to wait for them or kill one of those queries in order for RAM to be reallocated.
Right. And then generally we're looking at, like, once you identify the query, and there's some type of rewrite, right? Modification, query hints, right?
Statistics.
Disguise. Yeah, exactly. The limit there in terms of what you actually need to do there. So, very good. Did that help? Did that help, John? Yeah. Thank you, John. Okay, what else? What else should we be talking about today? I feel like there's a question over here somewhere.
John, go ahead.
Here we go, John.
Well, hi, my name is John. I don't have a question here, but first things first. I'd love to thank Carlos and his team. Our company has a relatively small IT team, so we are not specialized in every single field. So sometimes we do need some help. And in the past, at least 10 years, we got some great help from their team to upgrade our SQL cluster twice. So we're very, very professional, very knowledgeable. So I'm very happy with that. And now we are trying to switch to Power BI. So that's a new project that we are working on. So congratulations to their success and growth. Thank you.
You know we're recording, right, John?
That's why.
And I saw you pass that $100 bill.
Where is it? I couldn't find it.
He needs another one, apparently. No, well, thank you. Yeah, that's exciting. So Power BI adoption, right? It's kind of a fun thing.
Very
right?
exciting.
It is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I hope we can enjoy the beauties of on the macro level and the micro level.
So no, that's one thing. So I'm coming back over here. I'm migrating over here. So that's one thing we haven't talked about, and maybe I feel like there's a potential episode, right, brewing here somewhere. And so that is the. So I'm asking. I'm going to ask you for a future episode, Aaron. Do you think it's worth talking about so the Power BI? So basically, I don't know what the right word is. It integration? Am I hosting Power BI in SharePoint? Am I?
I mean, you can embed reports, but I mean, I think a lot of the conversation comes around like you talk about that maturity model, right? I mean, we were just before this, we were talking about a meeting, like, well, what kind of services can we offer? And I was saying a lot of people will need just like office hours. They just need like 1 or 2 hours a month where they can go like, is this right? Am I doing this right? You know what I mean? Because like Power BI is probably one of the worst. I think SharePoint might be up there. Tools that you can muddle your way through. And you can get it to work, but you're not sure. Like, yeah, SQL Server, like, you have a problem, just throw a stick, you'll hit like a Brent Ozar or a Paul Randall blog post, but...
Or SQL Data Partners.
Or SQL Data Partners. Right?
just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
sure.
But yeah, because it's made out of so many moving parts, it can be hard to be sure, like, okay, am I doing this right? Because, I mean, it all started out as a bunch of Excel add-ins, right? And at some point, they're like, we want cloud money, so we're going to slap them all together. We're going to slap Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power View, which is super dead now, officially dead. And we're going to just put it together and make it a subscription service. And so, like, that's great in terms of capabilities, but if you're trying to learn this, you know, it's not, oh, I need to learn Spanish. It's, I need to learn Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian. And they all sound similar, but they're totally different. You know?
And I would agree with that. This is Aaron, because where I work, we have gone through this maturity, and we just published our first real Power BI dashboard pages. Yeah. I mean, we have a real audience, they're excited, and it's all about quick decision making. But because it's a lot of row level data, I mean, millions of rows potentially, because it's sales data, guess what? It's not direct query on the back end because it goes, right? That's the official, what it does. You know, so you gotta have my DBA that's fantastic princess that she is, and she reads the blogs and understands that she has to optimize these views that I then use for the dashboard, right? Part of what I'm starting to learn are these quick measures, and one of the things I will totally hit you up about is, you know, how can I do current user location from like Active Directory data so that I can use it for a default filter? Because really this dashboard is about individuals and their store location. So why do I have to change the filter to go to my store location? Why can't it just show it to me when I'm logged in, right? So it's these kind of things that, you know, I know how to do in certain other apps, but it's always a learning process because everything's different.
Yeah.
Are we going to get into that now, or are we going to save that?
I mean, I don't have an answer on the Active Directory thing.
Well, ultimately, it's a row-level security question, and can I add that to the...
I mean, you can make it work. It's just how you get the data. Something definitely worth looking into. You talk about direct query, and it won't let, if you try to query more than 1 million rows, it'll literally stop you, right, to make sure you're not accidentally hitting everything. But something worth...
Are you sure? Like, are you really
no,
sure?
I am sure. No, I know. There's
no, that's the question that it's asking you.
Oh, okay.
You try to query that many.
I thought you were...
Are you sure you want to do that?
That is like a credibility check. There's a setting in SAS you can change
did that in
it.
a previous episode, right?
Yeah. But something definitely worth checking out is Power BI aggregations. And they should call it something different because it's pre-aggregations. But what's really cool is you can mix direct query and import mode. And so you can have it so that you can run a query that's just those high-level aggregations, right? And then when they want to get into the nitty-gritty detail, it switches over to direct query. So there's some cool stuff you can do with that. But again, if you're not like reading all these blog posts or keeping up with everything,
and who has time to do that?
I get paid to do it, and I don't have time.
So wouldn't you be able to just join into your human resources database and pull the information out of there?
If you have one. It sounds like you're talking about more from Active Directory.
Yeah.
Well, do you have a human resources database?
Yeah, it's we'll take that all off topic because it's a big ball.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's a good question.
But it's important. People want to see, audience based.
Yes.
Well, and something that doesn't require talking to Active Directory is personal bookmarks and that sort of thing. So I don't know if you're using those, but those can be a way to basically have it. So you have a report that works for everybody. They tailor the filters the way they want, and they just save it as a bookmark. And so that is something you can do. So it's an easy way to go However
So
you
the
do.
caveat there is
They have to do it, yeah.
No,
The first time.
I published the report, but I put it in a page viewer web part on my SharePoint intranet
Oh,
because that way
I see what you're saying.
The experience is
Yes.
it's SharePoint. Everybody knows SharePoint, right?
I gotcha.
They just go to a page and boom, it's beautiful and it's there. So they only have their filters. They don't have all the Power BI
okay.
wrapping. Yeah. So we do lose some of that native functionality from the .com
that's
website.
interesting. That'd be worth looking into because
Yeah.
I'm curious how much integration.
Always come with good ones.
No, it's fine.
Ask all my vendors. I come with good support issues
Sure.
all the time.
Yeah. Now, Aaron, I feel like you've made a generalization that everybody knows SharePoint.
Oh well,
Is that-
they should.
All the good people.
All the good
Best
people.
tool
right?
ever. It's how it pays my paycheck.
Well,
Well,
there
that
you
doesn't
go.
make it a good tool.
Yeah, says the AS400 mainframe, right, folks? Right.
Hey, I have that background too. So don't even.
That's how I grew up.
Oh
Oh my
gosh.
God. Flashback.
Yeah.
Thanks for making me feel old, Carlos.
So now I'm actually going to switch here for a second. I'm not sure how much more time we have, right? But one of the things that we were talking about as we're getting together, right? I won't tell you who it was, but somebody said that they had to put makeup on and do their hair to come out today, and that's not a normal thing, right? Because we.
Carlos, why are you calling me out like this? I don't appreciate that.
And so, we'll go around. Those, no pressure, right? But those who would like to, as we've been working from home, perhaps we can include user groups. I was going to say, what do you miss about going to work? But what do you miss about getting together with other technologists, right? What has that? Because we just talking about blogs and whatnot. I mean, at some point you. So what have you missed, right? Who wants to share that a little bit?
I have a great one for you. Real
Here we
quick.
go.
So I miss the in-person. I am an introvert. People don't realize that about me, but I am. This small group is perfect for me. A conference
Small.
is
The huge group.
Okay,
there's like 500 people.
Yes. But with my internal IT team, we would sit in this one room together. And even though I was already working 2 days from home prior to COVID, it was really important because I could hear my help desk person on a call, and she could go wave her hand, or I could hear it and go, I have an answer, right? Or I could walk in from a meeting, go directly to my network admin and say, blah, 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 and we can brainstorm right there because it's on the top of my head. And it really came to a front last year around this time where the team was getting frustrated with each other. It's because we didn't have that interaction anymore. We didn't have the interaction of having silly family conversations or just, well, I have vivid dreams, and I would tell them I had silly vivid dreams about work people the night before, and they were always great. But, just that camaraderie about not just work and building those relationships, because really we're a family at work. We need each other. We're team members. And then I at least I see Carlos every once in a while, or see his wife sometimes. But I miss that personal touch of connecting with someone in person. That's the big thing for me.
She said that great.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to add, but what I miss is just the connectivity. Like you said, it's a lot easier when you're in person to look at the person sitting next to you and ask them a question, or to walk to the next office and ask them a very quick question that when you're at home you don't think about. Do I set up a meeting to ask this question? Do I send do I IM them to
They're busy
answer
on
question
Teams. Should
or
I ask them
whatever?
right now?
Right. So that's what I really miss, and then just the personal connectivity of really getting to know your coworkers a little better. You just don't get that over a web meeting.
Sure.
I mean, you get a little bit of it, but not as much as when you're actually hearing about their kids, or just stuff that you don't hear when you're strictly focused on the meeting. So that's my 2 cents.
And body language
Right.
is
Sure.
so important.
Right.
We see even like this on a video call.
Emails are terrible for that. You don't see the expression. Like something might be a joke, but you don't take it as a joke.
Okay, here we go. So the food is out. So the last calls. Anybody else want to go? Here we go. Okay. Well, that's going to do it. Thanks, everybody. Round of applause again. There we go. Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in, compañeros. And I hope to see you on the SQL Trail.
SQL Data Partners.